Okay, I'm set up to do some pre-treating now, and this machine was under-maintained, so there's not a lot of real bad old grease and layers of grease and oil. I think I mentioned before the gears here are mostly dry, and worm gear and stuff, so that's actually okay with me. Because it won't be as much to clean. But there's varnishing up here on top of this cam stack and the holder for the top hat cams. Old varnished oil around there. So I'm going to go ahead and pre-treat it a little bit, just to kind of show you the method if you haven't seen my other videos. This is a solution of the Krud Kutter degreaser, and it's about a 25 to 30% Krud Kutter, and the rest is water. I just sprayed it in here from my spray bottle. When there's layers and layers of the old dried grease and oil on there, I may use a stronger mixture, even up to 100%. Now you notice I put a trash bag down here because if you pre-treat it up here, the liquid can drip down the upright column over here and out screw holes and stuff, and I don't want to damage my work surface, and I want to keep an old rag handy because I don't want to let the Krud Kutter mixture sit on the painted surface very long because it'll dull it. So I'm just going to keep that handy, and then I'm just going to go in here and I use a little paintbrush rather than spray, and I'll apply it directly to these areas where I see some built up oil or grease. And that way I can just let that start working for a while I set up where, if you saw my other videos, you know, I just clean this in the shower. You know, I set the machine on an empty 5-gallon paint bucket and I spray it with the cleaner and then rinse it off with the hose and dry it with a leaf blower. So I'm going to go ahead and treat these eccentric gear up here and the teeth gear on the horizontal arm shaft. Like I said, there's not a bunch of layers, but there is some old black dried up stuff down inside, so I might as well treat it a little. And you may notice here I didn't take out the cam stack, and I very seldom do because there's so many attachments here, and every one of these has several adjustments to match up with the cams and the lever and the following pin. So, you know, taking out the cam stack is no big deal, but after you put it back in, there's a lot of work to line everything back up and adjust it back to the factory settings. So if I have a defect or some kind of a problem with the cam shaft that I need to take it out, I will. And the service manual tells you, you know, how you can do that on the 503, and how can you can remove the whole cam stack and all the plates on the 500A. But like I said, unless it's a necessity, to me it's not worth it, because spraying the Krud Kutter in there and washing it off and drying it, I can get things very, very clean, if you've seen in any of my other videos. Okay, I think that's well, let me just turn that gear a little bit more and make sure that I got some. So you're getting the idea here, right? Okay, so I've pre-treated the areas that I want to treat, and I can see I've got just a little bit of runoff of the Krud Kutter. So rather than let it sit there for minutes, I'll just go ahead and wipe that up. Now I want to do a little bit on the, well, let's take a look at the nose here and see if there's any pre-treatment that maybe I should do under here. See if I can get my block here and put this up for you so we can get a more direct view in there. It's really not too bad, just normal stuff, and I really think I could get away with just you know, doing the normal spray with the Krud Kutter and then wash it off. But since I have it all open up, and to give you the idea, I'll go ahead and put a little bit of the solution on there so they can start taking stuff off. Yeah, especially if you didn't take out the tension releasing lever here, you definitely want to get the Krud Kutter up in this area, because oil, when you're oiling all this, the oil's gonna drop down when you're oiling the needle bar and the thread take up and stuff. You invariably get oil back here, and it's just gonna sit there and get hard and dry and yucky. So especially if you didn't take off the thread take up lever or the tension releasing lever, you want to flood this area pretty good and wash it out with the Krud Kutter and then rinse it and dry it. Okay, let's take a look at the bottom here. So I wiped off anything I had spilled on the top of the bed up there, and I've turned the machine kind of upside down here so I can look at the bottom, and still got my plastic there. I got this kind of propped up, and usually there's a lot of pre-treatment that I do on these gears. Now this is the hook area below the bobbin area gears, but like I said, this machine was under maintained. I don't see any newer grease or anything down here on these gears and in the area, and I don't see a lot thrown around. I see some oil, varnished up old oil at the oil points where it shows you to oil the machine in the owner's manual, and you can see where the excess has run off, like right here. Remember, this is upside down, so people oil this, and they a lot of times put too much oil on, and then it runs down here and drips off of right here. So that area is always brown or black and has layers of the old stuff. So it's usually on the bottom of these shafts and stuff where you see the worst of it, because the oil runs down from the top. So it's usually worth my time to come in here, and pre-treat the gears and the oil points and shafts and stuff. But this machine was remarkably lacking of grease and stuff, so and I kind of prefer that, because it's a lot easier just to clean off what's left of the factory grease here. And let me turn the arm shaft there and make sure I get some grease all around the gear. Okay, I've put some of that Krud Kutter everywhere, and I'm just going to kind of soak up the excess here before I flip it back over. Some people, you can use a brush when you have more debris in here, and you can take a detail brass brush or a, oh see, boy, that's really got some That's really got some layers on it there, doesn't it? Man, that's the thing when you over oil and don't wipe up the excess. It just stays there, and I can see that brown stuff. It was probably like 3-in-1 or Phillips 66 type of oil with a lot of different additives that aren't good. I mean, you don't have to use the Triflow product like I do. You could just use Singer sewing machine oil or Lily. I know a lot of the commercial people, you know, with the industrial machines, they buy Lily, I think the brand is, sewing machine oil, and they buy it like by the gallons. So you just want a sewing machine oil, or it's like a mineral oil. You don't really want those household oils like 3-in-1. I'm not saying it's a bad product, but it's a bad product to use on a sewing machine. That is for sure. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Let me see if I can turn this over now. Turn it back over, and I know a lot of that stuff is going to have run out of the top end here. Let's see this. I'll take a little brush to the, yeah, see that, all that varnishing is softening up. And if you don't get everything in the main wash and dry, you can come back with a a stronger solution of Krud Kutter and a few Q-tips and stuff. But let's see what's under here. Let's get my block up. So you can see, I think, if I can zoom, where that excess Krud Kutter has dripped out of the machine, right? And it's all yucky and black. That's getting off the old stuff there. That's how well that works. So I'm going to set this up to do the main body cleaning, and then I'll come back to the camera and just show you how that works. Once you've done the pre-treating that you would like to do, this is how I set up to wash the main body with the rest of the parts. For a number of years now, I've been using this original Krud Kutter concentrated cleaner degreaser, and I use it for something like this up to a 50% solution mixed with water. That choice is yours. You can read the directions and see what they recommend. I have this, I mix it in this Spraymaster bottle that I bought at, I think it was Home Depot. And I probably have about a 35 to 40% solution in here, I'm going to estimate. And I start turning up like this with the hand wheel end down into the bucket and a little bit of a slant for runoff. And I start on the bottom. And I want to remind you, don't use Krud Kutter on any black Singer. And don't leave it on the painted parts of the sewing machine, this type of vintage machine, for a long time, because it will start dulling the paint. But I just give everything a good thorough spray inside and out. Like that. And then I'll turn it over. So I'll turn it up, right side up now, and I'll spray into the top first and back in the hand wheel area, and then into the nose area, then the hook area, and finally just a little general spray on the painted body. And that's going to be generally it. You can see maybe that it's starting to, you can see down into the tub where the grease and stuff is already running off, all the old grease and oil. But I want to go ahead and set it up here for rinsing. I don't want the spray to be on the paint more than a couple minutes. So where I live in my condo, my garden hose will reach into one of the bathrooms here, so that's why I do it here. And it may seem strange to be putting water from your garden hose onto a sewing machine, but I definitely want to completely rinse out all of the cleaning chemical. I don't want any residue from it. That's a good reminder to tell you that the Krud Kutter on metal or paint makes it very slippery. In this position I can do another better rinsing of the bottom area. Okay, let me empty that out and I'll get it set up for drying. I thought before I empty the water here I'd give you a shot of it. This machine wasn't too dirty and I did some pre-treating, but look how dark and greasy that water is. You can see that doing it like this really really gets all the little hidden spots that you can't get with a rag or Q-tip, stuff like that. Let me empty that out and I'll set up for drying. I forgot to mention, after your main rinsing, when you're pouring any water out and tilting it around, you can look and see if there's any greasy trouble spots that didn't get cleaned enough for your satisfaction, and you can spray a little more Krud Kutter on there, or spray some Krud Kutter and work it with a nylon brush or a brass detail brush. This one came pretty clean, so I want to dry it, and then when I put it back on the workbench, I can examine it close and see if there's any little touch-ups needed. What I use to dry it, I found the quickest way is just a garden leaf blower. This is Home Light. It was about $38, but watch your ears here. Okay, once I get the machine completely dry, I'm finished with the washing and drying, and I'll move it back to my workbench because I want to do a preliminary lubrication. I want to put grease on the gear, and I want to put oil on all the oil points, but also just brush it on all the shafts and rods and any other exposed metal part. And believe it or not, this strips the existing grease and oil off so good that, you know, within a handful of minutes you can start to get some flash rust. So you don't want to like leave it like this and say, okay, I'll oil it in the morning, because you might be surprised. So let me I'll move this back to the workbench, then I want to show you what I do with the tub. Okay, so I've got the machine back on the workbench, and I took my 5-gallon paint bucket out of there. But real quickly, because there's usually residue left in the tub, you know, from washing it and pouring the water out and stuff. So I just take the Krud Kutter and spray it down like you would any bathroom cleaner. And I want to get that residue out of there. I think I'd be in big trouble if the wife came in here and saw this, huh? So we don't want that. No soup for Andy if that happens. I usually get to the machine to do a preliminary lube and oil within about 5 minutes. Now, this just takes a couple minutes to clean up. And okay, if you get any idea there. Okay, let me wrap up all these cleaning supplies, and then I'll be ready to show you the preliminary lube and oil.